Okay, so I'm looking forward to meeting the volunteers
Yeah.
today,
Bec-
and they will. I'm sure you will also enjoy meeting Vicky, uh, who is lives in Argentina.
Oh,
Mm.
wow.
I've been working with her in a different project called ULab, and so she brings a different perspective, and we are bringing that whole ULab thing, probably a whole team, and another part of the ULab that is called Media and Storytelling Hub. And so I'm pulling all these different pieces and people and threads and programs and whatnot. It's all becoming part of our climate collaboratory. And so what I'm trying to do for this next class that I'm doing, and have I invited both of you to join this course that we're doing with the university? What are your thoughts on that? You want to do it or no?
I'm just too busy now.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's what I wanted to know. I hear you say clearly. How about you, Michelle? Does that appeal to you?
I would like to, but and I'm not sure if I can fit it in either
Yeah.
because of the thing that's going on with We Women and all my work in the
Okay.
prison stuff.
Well,
So,
that's fine. And
you know
so
what?
we'll just have that's over here and we are here. And there's all these other people and places and things that are out there. And so the climate collaboratory is where they come together. The sages of the ages are telling the story of the climate collaboratory, okay, which is part of the story of life on Earth. And so we are at a critical moment in Earth's history, a time when humanity must choose its future. And the sages of the ages are giving voice to that. And so we are kind of giving the voice through Angelique, and I sure hope Shannon can join us. Um, or maybe this is
And there's going to be action things that people can do along the way, Sue.
absolutely.
Um, that, instead of just listening and talking, that we're actually having something that they can do to make well, that eco challenge, I guess, would be an action
That's
that
our
is,
step
yeah,
one.
okay,
That's
yeah,
the first step. And the
okay.
thing that's so
I'll be
neat
right back.
about the eco challenge is you can add specific challenges. So I'm thinking, I haven't tried it yet, but I believe that whatever we decide needs to be done by people, and we can offer these. Can you still hear, Michelle?
I'm here. I'm just getting my toast out of the oven. I'm here.
Okay, so all of these different programs that you've been sending me, Michelle sends programs, so many wonderful things. I just signed up for the puppet
Yes,
shop.
that looks really fun. That
Yeah.
looks fun.
Did you see that one, Dana?
Hmm.
She can,
Maybe I'm behind.
I know we are all behind, but I just Michelle sent and I signed up for a puppet workshop on I believe it's November 9th, and it will be about it's a story for Martin Luther King month. And I would
Ah,
like to say, let's sages act out that story during Martin Luther King month
That would be great.
with our puppets. Okay. And yeah. So are you planning to do that workshop?
Yes,
Michelle is.
I
Would you
am.
like to do it with us, Jana? Take a look, and if it works, it would be such fun to do it together.
All right.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna keep trying to watch my little screen that says let people in, but I don't see Shannon yet. So maybe we're gonna be recording again for Shannon.
I saw
Uh,
you invited Peter too. Is he coming?
well, I did. I didn't send him the link. And
Oh,
so he won't be here unless he asks.
he's getting kind of more overwhelmed than he wanted to be, I
Of
think.
course. And he's got a lot of kid stuff going on in his life. And
I know. I had to keep stressing at the meeting the other day. I'm hearing from Peter that he's taken a break, you know, because Peter had already told me that.
Okay.
So
Well,
trying to be stand in his corner and say, hey, you guys,
yeah,
back off. You're
right.
gonna lose them.
Thank you. So I wanted Peter to know that story though, because
Mm-hmm.
he,
Yeah, keep him in the loop so he knows.
yeah, and what we have been talking about as his role is, and it's just real clear to me now that you can't. He wants to be able to do things, but can't always follow through. And
Well,
so I think it's
right, and
most,
he only wants to pick the things he thinks he can follow through with, so he doesn't get overwhelmed and let people down. So
yeah.
I heard
Well,
that, and I kept
we
repeating.
No, it's an inside job. Changing the world is an inside job. We have to do it from the inside out.
yeah,
And you got to remember to take care of you. You
That's
know,
right. It
that's
ripples
it.
out that way. Again,
Mhm.
we're human beings, not human doers. We're human beings. And we
So
sages have that power to sit there and dream the new world without even really doing anything except for praying and weaving it in with our thoughts or whatever it is that we're doing.
Yeah, it radiates. You don't have
Yes,
to,
it does.
you gotta think the thought and feel the
Right.
thought.
And if everybody
Prefer to
did
get
that,
the
can
thought.
you imagine? Can you imagine if everybody just sat there and just took care of themselves for a little while? Because that it is, because we cannot do anything, forgiveness, love, or anything until we actually do it within ourselves. So I think
With
it's
an idea about the other people being related to you.
yes.
And that's the alarming thing about this whole thing right now is that really, with the election results so far, is like, anyways.
But again, it's all in divine order, and we have to realize that, and we have to know that there's a reason why it's going the way it is. And we, as as humans on this planet, we have a choice. We can get angry and be just like those that we don't like, or we can stand up and come from love, come from our heart space and change, what needs to be changed. But
Like Quick said, the work is either going to be hard or it's going to be really hard. And
yeah, it's not, yeah. And we signed up for this, so we have to be prepared.
we decided to be born now. So, what can we say? Talk to our
Right.
soul.
Well,
Anyway, sorry to distract from what you
no,
were
this
saying too, and Michelle.
this is the work.
it
So,
is.
I'm just trying to take a note here so that what we just did is a thread. We'll call that a thread in our web. Okay. And so that thread, which was basically take care of yourself. Well, I like that inside job. And what resonated with me was what you said, Michelle, about the sitting and thinking and letting it have its
Right.
praying.
Thoughts are powerful. Our thoughts create the reality. So we have to remember that. And just think if we circled up and did that as sages and elders, of having that where we're just, weaving that new story together, and it would go out there, almost like that grandmother net of light. And I also have a beautiful book that my friend Spider wrote, Honoring the Earth. So it also has a web story of the grandmother taking some yarn and webbing the children together and saying how we're all connected and we're all one. It's a beautiful book of stories and activities.
Do you have that book?
I do have that book.
So I would like the sages to figure out a way. I have a million books with a million things in them that I'd like to
Yeah,
share.
right. So do I. And how do you pick them all,
So I consider, let me just work through this one because I want to have them all webbing children together. So this is Michelle's.
How about a book club online for children, and they take a book and somehow, if they can't get it through the library now, if we can find a way of resourcing those books for the children.
So I took one book
Yeah.
and recorded it. I read it to my granddaughter
Oh,
and sent it to
okay.
her, and she listened and she responded with an activity.
Great idea. Great
So why
idea.
don't we think about that as a
Yep.
possibility? So sages, and I have I'll make this a part of the Sustainable Living Library. That we are it. We are the library, right?
Mhm.
Same living library. And I have a video that I would show of the what was his name? Anyway, it's at the Florida Coalition Sustainable Living Center. And so here we come. We want to have, I did Sadako and the Thousand Cranes,
Okay.
and I read the story. Sue read the story and sent it to Elia. And Elia has been, it was not because of that, but I read the story because she was folding a thousand cranes. So, so what I'm trying to get at is sages read a story
Mhm.
as a, what do they call that? Audiobook, right? And
Mhm.
then the kids do some kind of expression through the arts. So anything that they want to create out of that and then send it to us. Or find somewhere that we can store all of those. So
Mhm.
Jana, you know more about the different platforms than I do.
Hmm.
Is there a place that you can think of where we could store a whole bunch of videos and pictures and whatnot?
All I can think of is in your, your computer files, like your audio and
No, I'm
video.
thinking a place where people can see it online,
Yeah.
not,
No, I
not,
don't really
not
know
just for
that.
me. I know how to store them. I don't
No,
know
I
how to
know
get
that.
them out
I'm
to the
just
world.
saying. That's all I know. But Angel would know.
Okay, ask Angel. Okay, but anyway, let's take your webbing children together. Why don't you just go through an example of how you could do that, Michelle, as an activity that would elicit responses from our listeners.
I didn't get the first half of that question, dear.
Right. So you mentioned the webbing children together.
Mhm.
And so can you just talk us through what it might look like if you were to read a chapter, an activity, however it's presented, and ask for kids who are listening to send something back in? A
Okay, I
video.
guess that what they could do, let me just go get the book and so.
Do you have any books, Janet, that you might like to, or you're the one who's so crafty. You could be the one who helps us create things. You know who else does? I have another friend who does that, but she actually has a YouTube channel where she shows people how to do things. That's what you,
So it's all our relations.
okay. Oh, that's a nice title.
Yes, and it's exercises in earth awareness for children. And my friend Spider put this book together.
And again, exercises.
In earth awareness for children.
And her name is Spider?
Yes.
And does she have a last name?
Well, her actual name is Kathleen Lawrence, but she goes by Spider. That's her.
In her normal everyday life?
Yeah, her everyday is Kathleen J. Lawrence, but she goes as Spider. So it's a grandmother story. The children's grandmother comes, and they just love when she comes because she tells them stories.
Okay, well, wait just a minute. Let me turn this to speaker view, and I'll let you tell the story. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. So this book by Spider is all about grandmother coming to their house for a visit, and they totally love grandma because she comes and she tells them stories. So through every chapter, there's a different thing. So the first chapter, the exercise is honoring our elders. And so she goes on and tells them that if they don't have a grandmother or grandfather close by, that they can definitely go and adopt an elder. And chapter 2 is Grandmother Spider and the Web of Life. And again, it's the web. And so she tells them, how Grandmother Spider saw 7 shining energy beings coming out of the great mystery's dream. And so she goes on to tell them all about how Mother Earth's children awoken. And then at the end of the story, we weave the web, which is a ball of yarn, a small blanket, and a circle of friends. And then everyone brings an object to that circle that is something special for them. And it could be anything that would represent something of special interest to the person. And they place the blanket in the center of the floor, and everybody sits around, and everybody goes on and they read the story of the Web of Life, and then they add any details as the children want to add details. And then when they get to the last part of the story, we start to weave the web. And the ball of yarn is passed from person to person around the circle until it reaches the storyteller once again. So it goes around the waist, and then it goes to the next person, and then it goes right back to the first person, the storyteller. And then what the circle and the yarn and the web represents is that everybody is special on that, is special and different, and we're all related. And so, and then at the end, you just have to counterclockwise and undo the yarn, and it goes all the way around, and then the web is brought back. So
it's just a circle web.
yeah,
Okay.
it is.
There's another.
But you could go across, they could use their imaginations on it, because you could actually wrap it around you and go across to the directions, and zigzag it, and then you create that web inside. So that you can definitely be a little more intricate with the web.
Yeah.
Because the little ones, but the little ones may just want to be, it depends, I think, on the age of the child that you're actually doing the circle with, because of the fact that it might be a little bit too daunting for the little ones to do. But as they get older, then the web, can definitely, because it is all age groups, if you think about it, because we're wanting to bring it back to the awareness of nature, and we're all one, and connected in the web. So.
And then I would take it a step further.
Okay.
You would unwound that yarn, and now this is sacred yarn. This is special yarn. This yarn means something. This web material.
Oh, you're out, Gianna. We can't hear you. Can you hear her, Sue?
Yeah.
Can't hear you, Gianna.
I'm waiting, testing.
Yeah, you're
okay. Now we can. Yes. Now we missed. Say it again.
I am. I would tie it around a tree and put feathers in it, because that's what I do with special stuff.
Nice.
I don't want to reuse it. I want to remember it. and-
Right, yeah, that is true, or a mandala could be used or something like that. We could, it could definitely go a next step
Yeah.
to the,
And it could be pretty ribbon.
yes, it could be.
So I'm thinking back to two things I've done that are similar. One is at a long ago workshop where we just tossed, I forget exactly how we did it, but we ended up with a zigzag. We were all in a circle passing the yarn and hold it.
Oh,
So that it
yes.
creates a pattern.
Yep.
too. And then everybody participated, everybody was holding it, and we were one. We are one.
Yeah.
Was that one. And then the other was with a program that is also with the university's extension program. It's called Project Learning Tree, and it's time for me to go talk with them and get them involved because they have almost the identical thing, but it's done as the web of life. And everybody becomes some kind of animal or living thing of some kind. And you talk about, uh, uh, anyway, at the end of the thing, you end up with the yarn web that you can clearly see. We're all related and we're all interconnected.
I wonder why you're talking about that, how they do it virtually, like when they throw, like it's on YouTube. So the girls are there and then they like throw something and then you see them all dressed inside. I'm wondering if we could virtually do a throwing of the yarn and somebody wraps it and then throws it to another person on Zoom. So it ends up being a virtual web, because of course we can't really gather, and maybe not in February, but you know how they do the musicals, that somebody's over in Argentina or somebody's in Brazil, then they have them in Los Angeles and they put that all together. I'm just wondering if we could create that web on, a virtual web on for Martin Luther King, that we're all related.
That's a
Okay.
cool idea.
That's a great idea. I love that. And here's what I would donate to this is that quote you may remember about the World House. We've, how does it go? This was from Martin Luther King's Nobel Peace Prize lecture. And he said, oh, I have to find it. Let me find
Okay.
it. MLK World House.
There's a word for it, because they see it like that. They did it with the Native girls. They would throw the basket and should be doing something, and then they'd throw the basket, it would block the screen, and then the next thing you know, that she's got her regalia on and she starts dancing. So it's this whole, and I'm just thinking that if we do it with the music and also, and maybe having his speech in the background as the yarn is being thrown and connecting the people, so that we sort of remember the past and bringing it into the present so we could go into the future.
I'm found the lecture. Let me find the quote. World.
Okay.
Okay, he says, this is the great new problem of mankind. We have inherited a big house, a great world house, in which we have to live together, black and white, Easterners and Westerners, Gentiles and Jews, Catholics and Protestants, Muslim and Hindu, a family unduly separated in ideas, culture, and interests who, because we can never again live without each other, must learn somehow in this one big world to live with each other.
So what if everybody that was going to do the web dressed in their culture of some sort? So they would have, they could, do it so that, if it was like, say, I'm just saying that they could be dressed in some sort of regalia of their culture, and so that they're throwing the yarn. Just a thought. So in Brazil, they'd have their Brazilian, regalia that they would wear, in Lithuania, so everybody would have something of them, or even have a flag on them, just so that it would be that we're connecting together as one human family.
Love it.
So it's almost like a multicultural cultural event, and everybody, is part of the web, and we're in this together.
And we'll
For sure.
include all of the animals, all the,
Yes, somebody could be the animal. I mean, we could definitely have it where it was all,
oh, and then I got a song I want to sing.
Okay.
It's all God's critters got a place in the choir. Some
Oh, I love that
some
song.
sing higher, some sing out loud on the telephone wire. Some just clap their hands or paws or anything they got. Okay, so here's what we're doing is bringing up the
Right.
we're bringing up the beloved community choir is what that is. And so if you get to the full name of it, it's the World House Beloved Community Choir of Angels.
Beautiful.
And so anybody who wants to be an angel in the World House Beloved Community Choir is welcome. And then we're also going to have the World House Climate Conversation. We're going to have, and I guess that could be the World House Beloved Community Climate Conversation, right? Because we want everybody, and this is what's gonna this is the kind of thing that happens in our storytelling adventure. So that it is part of the publication, it may be part of our musical play at the end, definitely the Beloved Community Choir is part of the play that we
Yeah,
want.
you may want to, Sue, include Native Hope. It's a Native organization that is doing storytelling for healing through the Native communities. I will send you a link to them. I've been working with them for a while now, trying to get sustainability and regenerative food forests on the reservation through them. So I will send you the information, Trista's her email address, but they've got a whole on their website, all the stories of, the elders and the children. And so it's maybe some way we can, bring them aboard for storytelling also.
Okay. So why don't we think about I guess what we're thinking about is what are we going to do in January? So,
Okay.
because if we look at, the three parts of the story that I sent to you this morning,
Right.
it was so thrilling to me to come up with that. I could see it all on one page, the whole story. It's the first time I've ever had that happen. Because it's just been so elusive. I haven't known quite what in the world I'm up to. But now I feel like, boom, there's the story. That needs to be published in our Welcome to We Printernet Gazette by December. Now I know we can do it. And what
Right.
it's leading into is opening up those three parts of the story. And the way I figure is, see if this makes sense. Some people will work on the sage and the tree tenders, and that's all they do. Some people will work on Pacha and the game, and that's all they do. Some people will work on the interfaith piece with Aya and the promise, and that's all they do. And then we put the three pieces together in April for that musical play.
Wonderful.
And then everybody sees the whole story. Nice.
Beautiful. That's beautiful.
Yeah. So that's getting this puzzle, jigsaw education is really what that's called. And so that everybody brings a piece, and everybody's piece is important and valuable. And when we put them together, we get something much greater than any of the whole part.
That's what makes a community.
That's right.
So good lessons. So here we go. So we've got that whole story that I wrote to you in those 3 paragraphs. Boom, that's in December. So out of that comes these activities in January. So let me think about this in terms of, and I need to keep this so I can see if Shannon comes in. It looks like she's not. We'll let her do this in video again because that worked very well, though we haven't seen yet the fruits of her labor. We
True.
will. We will. Um, so here, so we've done, there's Kata, no, there's Sage, there's Pacha, and there's Aya. So those are the 3 characters that carry the 3 parts of that story. So let's go through January, Martin Luther King month. That really goes into February now. You saw that Rick has the grant for doing the whole
Right.
month-long thing.
So is he gonna do all the same stuff that was done last year, or does it change every year?
Well, we're changing it. This is what we're doing.
Oh, okay,
What we're
all right,
designing now is what we're doing.
okay.
Yeah, and we can draw on all of what happened last year. That's what I'm seeing our roving reporters, Jana, for the
Mhm.
Welcome to We Printernet Gazette. I want them to go into what happened last year and pull those stories out and put them into our Printernet Gazette so people can use them, and it'll have a link to the whole video. But to get little nuggets to say, here's something wonderful that happened last year, and anybody who wants to develop that further, that's a seed idea that we can grow in our gardens of global unity. Right?
So maybe we'll see, maybe they'll find some that's already been seeded and blooming. We don't even know,
Many of
A
them
little bit
are.
of, yeah,
Most of them are in some way growing since that time. So
now that would be good to know too,
Yeah.
that people know that, that the seed was planted and nurtured and it's coming to fruition, yes.
yay, love it. Okay, so let's think Martin Luther King, January. We've got the World House quote. We've got the web. We've got your storybook. We've got, anything that we want to bring into this, we can bring. So let's just say the sages, we know one thing is Michelle's going to do the storybook, right? With the spider and the web and all. And I'm going to do the Martin Luther King World House quote. And I've got a lot. There's a guy at the University of Florida here who I first became aware when he did what he called the World House Global Conference. I think it was in 2008, maybe. Anyway, whenever it was, he did a so that it was bringing people in from all over the world, which we can do now on Zoom. And so it's a global World House Conference. So we can have that's probably what we would do on the Martin Luther King Day itself. And maybe have Rick do that as our big one. For the environment, it's the World House. Maybe that's our environment thing. I don't know how he's organizing it. But anyway, I'll do the World House. And I'm going to sing the All God's Critters. Going to bring in the Wilmette Institute stuff. Anyway, there's a lot. So Jana, what ideas pop up for you?
I need volunteers to come jump in.
Okay.
That's good.
Do you want to do anything crafty?
Well, I still like my idea of repurposing things, that would be trashed. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Like, you take these things off the top of the creamer or whatever, and you decorate it, and it's a ring, and you can put letters on it. I just, put it in your hair. I just love using things, that I find and thinking,
What
could
could
I
we
do with
do
that?
with that?
Yeah,
I
I do the
always-
same thing, Jana. I get oatmeal. I make fairy houses out of oatmeal containers.
Oh
And
my gosh.
yeah, so I do the same thing. I shrink down old woolen sweaters and I make little gnomes out of them. So,
Oh,
yeah,
Say that again?
I'll get you one. I'll show you exactly what it is.
I make a lot of things out of plastic bags.
Like what? Oh, I saw one thing you did.
Well,
What-
I made a great rug for my
Yeah.
entryway.
Yeah. Amazing. Love it. Ay,
Oh,
ay, ay.
So actually Angel sells these, and so Angel has the Green Woman store, which she bought from my friend Jenny. And Jenny, but the thing of it is that I make these out of felt and I'll put a little crystal in here or a little stone. But I was making them for foster children, and they're like the guardians of the forest, but they're coming in to help the children, So I made boxes of these, and then I sent some to the Lakota Waldorf School in Pine Ridge. So I made some for their nature table. So it's funny because they don't
Hold it up
sell.
once more.
They don't sell, but they definitely, I give them away.
Yeah. And what do you make it out of?
This is felted wool, it's wool felt, but it's like shrunken down, and this is just felt. But I also use sweaters. I don't have one with the sweaters because I've given them all away, and I need to find more sweaters. But
Wow.
yeah.
that is so cool.
That is very cool. So we need to,
You know
Or-
what would be this is what my friend Crispina French, Jana, you would love her website, because I'm doing a stitch along with her now where we're doing all sorts of scraps, and we're making each of us, I don't know how many women are in the group, but they were making a square, and then she's going to put it together and she's going to raffle it off for a women's shelter of domestic violence. But what if we had a challenge with putting together kits? And I don't know how we would do the mailing or anything, but if we set all this recyclable stuff, or they could actually do it themselves. But what she did one time is she sent me a box, and she sent other people boxes of all scraps, because she's a upcycled designer of tech, of clothing and all sorts of stuff. So she sent a box, and we had to make something out of that box. So I made a banner with the blessing house, and I had the little windows were little pockets to put in blessings, or if you really needed a blessing, you would go in and take one out. So it was called the blessing house. And so that's what I made out of the scrap of box. So I'm wondering if we could have a challenge out there that people would go to and get whatever they could get, instead of sending out the boxes, because the postage would probably be way too much. But if they could collect something and come up with an idea about Martin Luther King, of this whole journey, and then maybe we can they can take a picture and put it on our, wherever it should go, and maybe just have prizes or something. I don't know how we could do
Oh, like a challenge for you to use whatever you have around your house.
Yes, it's
that-
going to go into the trash. We don't want it to go in, and we want to upcycle it.
Right.
create
It's
something.
not something you go out and buy. It's something
Nope,
you
it's gotta
already
be
have in your house,
nature.
and there's something
Yeah.
you can still figure out a
Whoops, you're silent again. Up, she froze.
gross. So I'm thinking make it like a scavenger hunt. Here's the list of things you have to find and put into your little kit. It has to be something black, something white, something red, yellow, tan. It can be, just make up a list of things, not specific things, but descriptions of things. So
Yeah.
that
They
it's
can use
generic.
it's always the imagination.
You can
And I
use
mean,
fabric, you can use
Yeah.
crayons, you can use whatever you want for the different colors. But
Yeah.
bring them together and create something within this hour.
Yes.
You have an hour to do it and then show us.
Yeah. I mean, I think that would be such a great thing for people to, again, get into the gist, because I collect all sorts of stuff and the children come to my house and we just have creative things that we make out of stuff that I've collected. So
Do you have bowls, Michelle, bowls and boxes of things, that you just like I have this thing and it's my little one. And I just, every time I find a little thing,
you're like, yes, I do. I have a container for everything, and I've got baskets. So I've got baskets of, tissue paper that have, they come in with gifts and all of that. And my girlfriend, she uses the florist paper, that beautiful little paper, the paper from the florist shop, and she makes paper quilts for them that hang on the wall. They're gorgeous. Oh my gosh.
oh wow.
Amazing
Yeah,
that what can
I
be
keep
done with
everything.
just, yeah.
And even the things that, like something hangs on at, at Kmart or whatever, I keep that because you never
One
know.
never knows.
No, you never know. That is true.
Uh, awesome. Okay, well, I would like to be done by noon because I have a 12:30 with Jana.
Yep.
And what I would like to get out of this time is some ideas for Angelique to take into January.
Well, I mean, how to deal with this sickness. Is that too morbid?
Well, I'm thinking relating it to Martin Luther King and that theme and the kinds of things that we've talked about so far. And so really when I hear you say that, I think about how can we use Zoom to make these connections so that we can have that Martin Luther King World House. How can we help each other during this COVID time to be connected as a human family?
What if everybody came up with an idea about the COVID and that Angelique weaves it into a positive way of journeying through the virus with everybody's idea as a thread, again, in the web. But she
Well, I
threads all
think
that.
I think about, when I think about Martin Luther King, I think about equality and racial equity. And to me, that's a disease of society, that we even think that way about other people. And how did this sickness start? And it's the same with the virus. How did this virus start? And it's relating this actual physical thing that we can see is happening. They get sick, they die, but it seems to be more nebulous for people to see the sickness in their minds about how they view other people, just simply because they don't have as much money, or they don't have as nice a house, or their skin's not the right color. And what's the right color? And to me, it's just,
Well, it goes way back to the whole colonization of coming over here. And we have to think about, what on that land clearing, when people say, I sent you that, just think of all the natives that were killed and buried, and they just did not get to go where they needed to go. And all that negativity is on the land that we have not gone over. So why don't, we need to challenge people to go out on the land and start asking for forgiveness and and sort of rearranging on how they're thinking about the land that they're living on, because the whole world is in a negative if the land is holding all the negativity and all the injustice and all of everything. That if we could start clearing and putting our feet on the ground again, becoming rooted in the earth, because until we become rooted in the earth and finding ourselves connected, then we connect with ourselves, because so many people are not connected to themselves because they're worried about what's going on the outside instead of worrying about what's going on the inside. And so I think that there's got to be a way that Angelique can come up with, a way of all of us rooting and apologizing to our ancestors for how far we've come, and then also pray for the future generations to come down and help us get to where we need to be going, so that we have created a world that's for everyone, that is beautiful for everyone, almost creating that heaven on earth.
But it started so much before colonization. I mean, it started with the first humans on Earth. How did that start?
Well, that's another story.
Yes, it is true. And it is true. But again, we have to, and I guess it's the whole collective generational trauma, of coming down, and but we're given the tools to be able to, I think we have it, and we just have to know that within each of us, we have the tools to move us forward, because we cannot rely on the government. We can't rely on anybody but ourselves. And I think that that's what we need.
And so knowing that, and knowing that we have this ability to connect with just, anywhere that has, connectability, why does it seem like we're going backwards?
Well, I guess we have to change the story, and as long as we're putting out the good thoughts, then we're creating a different story. If we can keep continuing and saying, oh, this is going wrong, or this is wrong with that person, we cannot go us and them again. We cannot be pointing the fingers. We have to be creating the new story by the good thoughts that we have in us.
Well, I agree, that's what we can do, and that's what we should do, and that would be a good thing to do, and I would like to encourage that. My question is goes way, way, way back, is how did this even start?
But I guess we just don't need to know how it started, is how we're going to fix it. Maybe, I don't know. We could be going on, because I think that if we start going into the past too far, we're going to be spinning our wheels in the past. And it's time that we have got to think about present moving forward. And maybe we forgive the past, I guess. I don't know. I don't.
Go ahead, Jen.
Oh, this was just exactly the same conversation that was happening during the United World Religion with Audrey Kitagawa, who was with the Hiroshima Project, and then other religious leaders, spiritual leaders, talking about, should you look back or should you just look forward? And it was like there wasn't a way to come together and see how it's all part of the same story. And
so I think that the Martin Luther King quote about the World House is asking for the story that will help us to move on from here. That the old story
is the old story
isn't working. So what is the new story? Well, I want to tell the story that we are, if you look now, they use the DNA swabs, what do they call that process, to identify the path of human history, going all the way back to one particular valley in Africa where human beings began.
Yeah.
And then the migration through all the world to where we are now with all of our misunderstandings. But if we can see ourselves as that one human family, it's like a homecoming now that we can get connected with each other through the internet and all the ways that we have of understanding each other. And that if we can recognize ourselves as a human family, we can move on in this new story in a way that hasn't been possible before, right? And so what I've been dreaming that somehow or other, there is a 1 hour documentary. It includes all that, and it may be that Pato's the one to tell this story, but it's the idea that we have come from that humble beginning to the present day, and we're moving into this new global civilization that we can't even quite imagine yet. But that it is part of the story. What am I getting at? There is a UN International Decade for the people of African descent. And that's all of us. We are all of African descent. And if we can get through this decade with that clear understanding, I think we're 5 years into it. So we got 5 years to go. And we can tell that story. There's a man in Gainesville who has African Network TV, and he has
Ooh,
offered to do a 1 hour documentary of young people, African Americans in the Gainesville area, to start the story and end with that big story, right? That this is for the International Decade for People of African Descent is all of us. And Martin Luther King, with that quote about the different kinds of people coming together, we have to learn to live together. That
Yeah.
somehow or other, all that story.
yeah, because I really love the way he, Martin Luther King brought in the commonality. We have more in common with each other than we have differences. And so I think that we really need to go on that we've got so much in common, and we do, we complement each other, all of us.
And the diversity is necessary, as we're
Yes.
learning in our agriculture now. You can't have just one species,
No, you
or
can't.
it destroys everything.
Yep,
And
it
and
does.
we are educated, whether or not we have a gazillion college degrees or not. We are educated,
Yes,
and
we
we
are.
are aware, and we are aware, and we know. But clearly, we are becoming aware that there are a whole lot of people in this country that are never going to believe we're all of African descent.
No,
So
they'll
that's
worry
the
about
project.
that.
That's part of their waking up. We as a human race are waking
We
up.
just
to
keep
this
moving
reality.
forward, Jana, and we ripple out. Again, it's an inside job. We ripple it out. We get the people, and eventually they'll see it or they won't. But you know
Well,
what? We'll.
no, see, I'm playing devil's advocate here. I'm not
I know you are.
disagreeing. I'm not disagreeing. I say it is important to spread the good news, to say, hey, we are there. But when you're dealing with an amazing percentage of the population that doesn't see it that way, don't you think that can help point the way of how can I radiate to them in a way that they will hear? So it doesn't
Yep.
just bounce off.
And for me, it is how can I radiate it, period. And whoever responds, responds. And the ones
Yes,
that I feel are going to be responding are the children who have that sense
that's right.
in
They
them.
already have it. Yes.
And so let's reach for the children and the middle school and high school age, and really help to get that sense of oneness into that
Yes.
generation, so that when
Yep.
they become the leaders of the world, we can decide.
Yeah,
to have
I
more.
think so too. I think we clear the way for the children. They're the ones that are going to lead us and guide us, and we're just there to help them find it. Because if you come from the wonder of a child, they don't have any issues with color at all. They don't,
Until they get taught, and there's a song.
That's right. And so it's time to change the story.
Yeah. Ladies, I love working with you.
This is so fun.
So maybe we just appeal to the children and we just leave the adults in the other room.
I totally agree with you, Jana.
And the children have parents and grandparents, and they can help them to understand it.
Yes. Yes. I love that idea, Jana. I love just the children.
Okay, I think we got some fodder for Angelique, yes?
Yes, we do, I think. I
We'll,
hope.
we'll see what she can do with this.
I always give her a lot to think about. I know that.
No, you got it. That's how we work it out though, Jana, and we come together and just, again, all these pieces, it'll be interesting how it comes about when Shannon looks at this and brings it into focus for us. It will be fun.
And won't it be fun when we, in the after party for our play in April, we can look back on this and say, ah, look at that.
Yes, I know. The process, it's not part of the destination, it's the part of the journey is the most important.
That's
Of
it.
how we get from point one to point B.
One of us has to dress up like Barney and spread the message then, because
Okay.
Barney.
Barney's a
Are
good
you
one.
volunteering, Jana?
Sure, why not?
Jana's got her meadowlark. I'm thinking if we can do this puppet show training together, we can
Okay.
take our place with Angelique.
Well, my native name is Raven Moon, so I'll be the Raven.
Cool. You know, it's not a raven, it's a blackbird. Anyway, there's a story, and that's where I got the name Aya, Aiyah.
Oh.
This story of
Oh.
how the blackbird lost its colors.
Okay.
Oh.
Okay, my
Have a
friend.
great day. Bye-bye.
Love you.
Love
Bye-bye.
you guys. Bye-bye.